Minister of State, Chee, you wanted to ask a clarification?
Yeah. Mr. Deputy Speaker, may I have your permission to join the debate by seeking some clarifications and responding to some of the points made by Associate Professor Daniel Goh?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Associate Professor Daniel Goh asks how MCI intends to achieve a balance between freedom of speech, freedom to discuss issues of race, religion, politics, safeguarding important values such as racial and religious harmony. He cited the closing note to our public consultation where race, religion, and politics were mentioned as sensitive subject matters. Sir, that section of the note was about co-classification. I first want to confirm with Associate Professor Goh if my understanding was correct. That section that he's referring to refers to co-classification. Thank you, Associate Professor Goh. So for that section, sir, we laid out what we want to do to work in partnership with industry and with film content assessors to co-classify films. Minister Yaacob had explained this earlier in his opening speech. We are starting with films up to PG-13 to reduce the impact of any misclassification. IMDA is also excluding films with content on race, religion, or politics from co-classification. Such content could be sensitive depending on how they are presented, and we are hence starting the scheme with other categories of films. So I think it's important that I'd like to clarify we should not quote that specific line out of context. It is referring to co-classification. Sir, if I may continue to respond to some of the comments from Associate Professor Goh. IMDA has and will continue to classify films, provide age-appropriate ratings, consumer advisories, so that Singaporeans, both young and old, can make informed viewing choices. There's no lack of avenues to raise issues and to debate in real life or online in Singapore. And this includes the films industry making, viewing, and disseminating films with political content under IMDA's classification system. Our safeguards are intended to protect public interests against egregious content. And this is how we have found a balance between freedom of speech, creative expression, and safeguarding our collective greater good. There is significant space in between. It is not one or the other, neither free for all or nothing at all. So, Professor Goh mentioned about party political films, or PPF, under Section 33. Section 33 is intended for PPFs which seek to sensationalize or distort serious issues to evoke emotional rather than logical debate based on facts. And they thereby have the risk of harming our political discourse. But not all films with political content are PPFs. There are in fact many films that deal with political content and serious issues in ways that inform Singaporeans that both enrich our media space and our political space. We should not compare PPFs to other films. They are a different category of films given the impact that they could have on the integrity of our elections, as well as the broader political discourse in Singapore. The issue of party political films is a basic judgment, whether it is better to debate political issues with words and logic, or with images and emotions. And given the harm that PPFs can cause to rational political discourse, we believe there's strong reason, and it is prudent, to maintain the current provisions against the making of PPFs. And let me assure the House that IMDA will continue to be judicious in administering the provisions. Sir, Associate Professor Goh also mentioned events in the 1950s and 60s and how they are important for understanding how we have become who we are. I agree with him that it is important to know our history, but we also need safeguards to prevent distortion and misrepresentation of facts. There will be different accounts of the formative events of our nationhood, but there are also basic facts which are not matters of opinion and which successors and sympathizers of the protagonists at the time are still trying to deny. Not all narratives are equally truthful and valid. I believe Professor Goh may be referring to the two prohibited films under Section 35, Zahari's 17 Years and Dr. Lim Hock Siew. Two films are prohibited as they gave distorted and misleading portrayals of Dr. Lim and Syed Zahari's arrest, detention under the ISA 1963. The two men were involved in communist activities and had posed a threat to the interests and security of Singapore. The films made baseless accusations against the authorities and undermined public confidence in the government. This has nothing to do with the politics today. The fight with the communists is over. But the stance we take with regard to these actions by certain individuals in the past to distort the facts and to use false portrayals to exculpate their guilt can have an impact on what others may do in the future, which could then affect our national security and public safety. Sir, looking at how far our films and media sectors have come, I believe we can continue to strike the right balance between freedom of speech and protecting the interests of Singapore and Singaporeans. Thank you, sir.